They tell you that if you're waking up at 3 in the morning, it's your prostate or your blood sugar. At 94 years old, I'm going to tell you a truth your doctor won't. Your body isn't calling you to the bathroom, your soul is calling you to an audit. Welcome to the most exclusive club in the world. A club nobody wants to join, but where every man of character eventually finds himself. If you're over 65 and you've spent the last few nights staring at the ceiling while the rest of the world dreams, it's not a malfunction, it's a summons. At our age, sleep is no longer an escape. It's a luxury you have to earn. Today, I'm going to explain why the darkness of 3 a.m. has become your most honest mirror, and why what you see in it is keeping your eyes wide open. Reason first, the court of unfinished business is, in my 94 years on this earth, I've observed one constant. A young man sleeps because he's tired from what he did during the day. An old man stays awake because he's haunted by what he didn't do in a lifetime. The first reason you're standing at the window at this hour is what I call the court of unfinished business. When you were 30, you had the noise to protect you, the job, the mortgage, the kids screaming, the ambition to climb the ladder. You could ignore that small voice in the back of your mind because you were too busy building. But at 65, the construction is over, the tools are put away, and suddenly the silence of the night becomes deafening. At 3 a.m., your mind doesn't ruminate on your trophies. It digs through the drawers you kept locked for 40 years. That business you walked away from because you were afraid of looking foolish. That conversation you never had with your father before he passed. That son you didn't tell. I'm proud of you because in our day, we thought silence was a form of strength. Today's generation calls this anxiety. They take a pill to make the night go away. In my day, we called it a conscience. If you're awake, it's because your spirit is trying to settle its debts. You realize you have more past than future. And that simple math creates an urgency that the most expensive mattress in the world can't soothe. Look the truth in the eye. You aren't waking up because you're old. You're waking up because you still have business to settle with the man you used to be. And until that file is closed, the night will not give you back your rest. But let's move past the regrets of the heart. There is a second reason you're staring at the dark, and this one is hardwired into your DNA. It's something the modern world tries to tell you doesn't matter anymore, but your biology knows better. Reason second, the Sentinel's curse for 40 or 50 years. You were the wall. You were the one who stood between the world and your family. When a floorboard creaked in the middle of the night in 1985, you didn't call for help. You got out of bed to handle it. You were the provider, the protector, the man with the plan. Your brain developed a duty switch that stayed in the on position for half a century. Now, they tell you you're retired. They tell you to relax and enjoy your golden years. They want you to trade your armor for a golf club and a pair of slippers. But here is the brutal truth. You can retire from a job, but you cannot retire from being a man. At 3 a.m., your primal brain performs a perimeter check. In the silence of the night, your mind goes through the checklist. Is the house paid off? Is my wife taken care of if I drop dead tomorrow? Are my children, even the ones who haven't called in months, actually safe? Or are they one crisis away from ruin? In my day, a man's worth was measured by his ability to carry the weight of others. Today, society treats the elderly like they are surplus. They want us to sit in the corner and stay quiet. But your 3 a.m. wake-up call is your internal sentinel refusing to stand down. You are awake because you no longer have a post to guard, and your mind is searching for a new one. I've seen men reach 70 and fall apart because they let the world convince them their protection was no longer needed. They started sleeping 10 hours a day and lost their edge. If you are awake at 3 a.m. worrying about the future, it's because the provider inside you is still alive. He's looking for a mission. He's looking for a way to be useful in a world that values leisure over legacy. The 3 a.m. hour is when you realize that your biggest fear isn't death. It's becoming irrelevant. It's the realization that if the world were to catch fire tonight, you aren't sure if you'd be the first person your family calls anymore. That thought is a cold shower that no amount of melatonin can fix. We weren't raised to be comfortable. We were raised to be necessary. When you lose that sense of being the essential gear in the family machine, your brain stays awake trying to figure out where you fit in. You aren't suffering from insomnia. you are suffering from a lack of a battlefield. But let's stop talking about your soul and your family for a moment. Let's talk about that vessel you're sitting in, that body that's been carrying you for 7 decades or more. There is a physiological betrayal happening at 3 a.m., and it has nothing to do with what you ate for dinner. Reason #3, the reckoning of the flesh during the day. You can lie to yourself. You keep moving, you drink your coffee, you talk to the neighbor, you distract yourself with the news. The movement of the world creates a camouflage for your own decay, but at 3 a.m. the world stops moving, and for the first time in 24 hours you are forced to listen to the machine. In my 94 years, I've learned that 3 a.m. is the hour of biological honesty. This is when every ache in your lower back, every stiffness in your knees, and every irregular beat of your heart stops being an inconvenience and starts being a message. The message is simple. The lease on this house is coming to an end. In our day, we grew up on farms or in factories. We watched the seasons. We saw the harvest and we saw the winter. We understood that things have a beginning and an end. But today they sell you age-defying creams and life extension supplements. They want to convince you that if you just eat enough kale or take the right blue pill, you can trick the clock. That lie works at 2 p.m. in the sunlight. It fails miserably at 3 a.m. in the dark. When you wake up at that hour, it's often because your body's cortisol levels are shifting. But for an older man, it's more than chemistry. It's the realization that you are no longer the owner of your body. You are just a tenant. You start to realize that the last chapter isn't a metaphor. It's a reality that is breathing down your neck. I see men my age terrified of the dark because they think death is hiding there. They leave the TV on or they scroll on those glowing rectangles until their eyes burn. They're trying to outrun the silence. But I'm telling you, the 3 a.m. wake up is a gift of perspective. It's the only time of day when you are truly brutally honest about your own mortality. You aren't waking up because you're dying tomorrow. You're waking up because you're realizing that you are mortal, a fact you've spent the last 60 years trying to ignore. The then versus now is simple. Our fathers accepted their exit with a quiet dignity. Today's man fights it with a noisy desperation. At 3 a.m., the desperation stops. It's just you and the clock. And if you're honest, that's why you're afraid to go back to sleep. You're afraid that if you close your eyes now, you're surrendering. But a wise man knows that you don't fight the clock. You just decide what you're going to do with the ticks you have left. There is one final reason you find yourself awake while the world is silent. It's the most subtle, but it's the one that carries the most weight. It's not about your past regrets or your failing joints. It's about the vacancy you're leaving behind. Reason 4th, the legacy void. At 3 a.m. you are confronted with the terrifying question of meaning. When we were young, we were told that the finish line was retirement. We were told that if we put in our 40 years, paid our taxes and stayed out of trouble, we could finally rest. But as I stand here at 94, I can tell you, rest is for the dead. A man without a mission is a man without a reason to sleep soundly. In the old world, the world our grandfathers lived in, a man's role didn't end at 65. He became the elder. He was the one the young men came to when their crops failed or their marriages crumbled. He was the repository of wisdom. He didn't have to find a purpose at 3 a.m. because his purpose lived in the house next door and across the street. But today we live in a culture that treats wisdom like an expired coupon. They've replaced the council of elders with Google searches and 15-second videos. You are awake because you have a lifetime of hard-earned lessons stored in your head and nowhere to pour them. That energy, that wisdom weight, has nowhere to go, so it sits in your chest at 3 in the morning and burns. You are searching for your legacy. You're wondering if you're just a ghost haunting your own house, or if there is one last great work left for you to do. Here is the secret I've learned in nearly a century of life. If you're awake at 3 a.m., stop fighting it. Stop trying to fix your sleep. Start fixing your life. If the darkness is calling you to an audit, answer the phone. If you're worried about your family, get up and write them the letter you've been too tough to write. If you're worried about your legacy, start building it now, not with bricks and mortar, but with words and mentorship. The modern world wants you to believe you are finished. I am telling you that the 3 a.m. wake to up call is your spirit's way of saying, I'm still here and I'm not done yet. Don't waste that hour scrolling through news that won't matter in a week. Use it to decide who who you are going to be in this final, most important act of your life. The night is long, but it's also clear. If this message reached you, perhaps while you were sitting in the dark, wondering if you're the only one, then you found where you belong. We don't do gentle here. We do the truth. If you want more of this, if you want to hear what 94 years of life looks like when the filters are off, then subscribe and join us. We are building a brotherhood of men who refuse to go quietly into the night. Turn off the TV, put down the phone, look out the window and realize that you are still the master of your soul. I'll see you in the next one, if we're both still here.